so that I can stop for a moment and think about how the school year went this past school year and reflect on what worked and what are some areas that I want to improve upon or grow in. Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Mariely Sanchez and I'm a 4th grade teacher in South Florida. So for today's video, I wanted to sit down now that the year has ended, and as you can tell from the background, my classroom is packed up. I figured this was a very good time to sit down and, for myself, because I can refer back to this video in the future, think about how the school year went this past school year and reflect on what worked and what are some areas that I want to improve upon or grow in. So I came up with 7 different areas that I wanted to focus in this reflection. And I wanted to make sure I incorporated various different aspects of the school year along with my personal life as a teacher as well. So without further ado, let me first tell you what those 7 areas are. So first is instruction, followed by content. And then we have classroom management, which also includes behavior management. I then have organization, professional development, my responsibilities as a grade level chair, and the 7th category is well-being, which is so important. We're such givers and we're in the service of serving others that we forget that we also need to take care of ourselves, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So we need to refill that cup from time to time, not just in the summer, but during the school year as well. So let me start with the first category, which is instruction. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking down at the paper where I stopped to reflect and I wrote down some bullet points that I wanted to kind of touch upon in this video. So here we go. So some of the great things that I was very happy with as far as instruction went this year is that I was able to provide and create a lot of fun and engaging lessons. I'm a big proponent on using color to activate the brain, using humor, using music, using art and engagement, and finding different ways to get students interested in what we are learning about. Also, incorporating technology is a big part of engagement as well, and we're very fortunate that in my school we have access to a variety of technology, including an interactive whiteboard with a projector. We also have laptops that are available that we share with other teachers as well, and we also have 4 desktop computers in our classroom that the students can also use as well. So I really like that my instruction was able to use a lot of that, and I was very creative in the lessons that I came up with. I always had the student in mind as far as, will they like this? Would they enjoy doing this? Is this going to be a fun and engaging activity for them to do? So I always kept that in mind as far as instruction went. So I also find ways to incorporate art as well into a wide variety of activities that we do in the classroom. And also because I am a teacher of the gifted, and creative thinking is part of the competencies that I'm trying to address in my gifted program. And I feel like every teacher should try to incorporate art in one way or another. It's another way for students to show understanding of what they are learning in class. Now, I also made sure that my instruction was data driven. I did make sure that I looked at the data that the school tells us to look at, whether it was iReady or our Wonders weekly assessments or any assessments that I gave myself as a teacher to my students. I always looked at that to make sure I gauged whether the students understood the lesson or not, or if I had to reteach a concept or go back to it later and things like that. So I am very happy that I was able to do that. Now, here goes the areas for growth. So for the areas of growth, one of my biggest things that I really want to get better in is differentiated instruction. And differentiated instruction as it relates to small group instruction. And I know that differentiated instruction is not just small group instruction, it is a wide variety of different aspects, but I do want to make sure I get better at that. So I do have my books on differentiated instruction that I'm taking home with me to read over. I am going to go to the Pro Teacher message boards and get more information. I'm going to look for professional development that's going to help me with that. And a lot of it is going to be self-guided, but I do want to come up with a plan so that my small group instruction is something that is not too time-consuming or too tedious, and that I'm able to consistently implement it throughout the school year. So that is my big thing that I want to improve as far as it goes with instruction. And another thing is the use of interactive notebooks. I did do a lot of activities that could have gone into the interactive notebooks, but I just didn't continue with it. I don't know if it's because in my mind, I think it's taking too long or too much time out of instruction because the students have to write down or set up their notebooks or take time to tape or glue things in their notebooks. I don't know, but I want to take a look again at interactive notebooks and find an easier way to implement that system because I do like the use of notebooks in my classroom. I think it'll even cut down on how much paper I'm making copies of each week. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about how I'm going to do it, but that's definitely some areas that I want to improve upon in my instruction. All right, so here's to the second category, which is content. Now, some of the things that I can look back and I can say that I am really proud of myself for this year is that we were able to do 5 novel studies this school year. And I'm very proud of that. Sometimes I felt like, man, I should have done more, but I think 5 novels in the entire school year is pretty good considering that we have 4 grading periods. And at the same time that we were doing novel studies, we also had to incorporate our Wonders book as well because our district gives us pacing guides and lets us know what we need to address as far as that goes. And it also helps because 50% of our state test is in informational text and our Wonder series provides informational text and the novels provides the literary aspect. So I'm very happy, even though one of my areas for growth is to do more novel studies. I don't know how I'm going to do it, maybe literature circles, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me continue talking about the areas that I'm very proud of myself as far as content goes. So like I said, novel studies. Also, we were able to address and engage all the Florida standards for language arts, and the content was engaging for the students. I tried to make sure that I did do it that way so that it's not boring for the students. And if a lesson turned out to be boring, I quickly readjusted. I kind of changed it. I modified it so that it wouldn't be boring or not engaging to the students. So here we go for the areas of growth for content. So definitely, like I said, I want to try to do more novel studies. So I'm thinking of maybe incorporating some literature circles where the students are grouped in different books, but they switch. So in the end, they will all read all of the books that are in the literature circles. I haven't done literature circles in the past, so that'll be something really neat that I can try to implement next school year. Another thing that I was not able to include this school year was junior grade books, which is part of our gifted curriculum that is a little bit accelerated to what Wonders gives us. And you know, with gifted, we have to do on grade level and above grade level. So junior grade books does that. I didn't incorporate any junior grade books this year, and I love those stories. So one of the things that I really want to improve upon for next year is include some junior grade book stories sprinkled here and there. So along with Wonders and novel studies, we're also going to incorporate a little bit of junior grade books here and there because there's some amazing short stories in there that engage students and help them to think higher order thinking as they are analyzing the plot and the characters and the conflicts that happen throughout the stories. So I definitely want to improve upon that. And another thing that I want to improve upon is to make the novel studies more engaging so that the students don't think that the novel study assignments are too time consuming or they don't find the value in them or it's not addressing their interests or their needs accordingly. So I definitely want to make sure I take the whole child in mind, not just addressing the standards or reading the book just to read it, but also making sure that they are engaged in novel study activities that don't take too long and are not too boring, pretty much. All right, moving on to category number 3 for my end of the year reflection, and it is classroom management. So classroom management also incorporates behavior management, but some of the great things that I really loved implementing this school year that I think were great was my house sorting system that I created myself. And if you're interested in finding out more or getting a copy of it yourself, I have it available in my Teachers Pay Teacher store, and I'll leave a link down below so you can access it. The students really had a great time in the beginning of the year getting sorted. The way that I did it is after I gave them the personality quiz that comes with the resource that I put together, and I kind of figured out what house the students belonged in, I recorded myself as a voice coming from somewhere above or around us and saying their name and I think you are creative. I think you are an out-of-the-box thinker, but you also are brave and have some great friendship qualities. I wonder where I could put you. I know, river. So anyway, it was really cool because the students stood in front of the room and I put it so that it was a PowerPoint and it was all blacked out. Their names were in white letters and I had a sound file, which was my recording of myself saying, all those things. And as soon as the slide came in, as they stood in front, the audio played automatically. And then after the audio played, it switched to the next slide, which showed their house crest. And that was a really engaging moment. And also the few times that the houses were able to meet during the school year was a lot of fun to the students. They really enjoyed that time. And yeah, I incorporated Class Dojo along with that as well by making their house crest be their little picture for their Class Dojo account. And I did use Class Dojo at the beginning of the year with Fidelity, but then it kind of dwindled. And that's where I'm going to get to in a minute. I did have procedures for just about everything, which helped run the classroom seamlessly. And this year, I condensed my classroom rules. In the past, I had 5. And thanks to putting forth effort, which she's also on YouTube and on Instagram, I'll link her in the description box below. She had these 3 rules in big, beautiful, bright letters that I really loved. And she has it available in her TPT store. I bought it and I printed them out and I put them up in my classroom. So the rules were be kind, show respect, and work hard. So those rules worked out pretty good. And they also looked really nice in my classroom. So I really loved that. And we also implemented the use of student data trackers, which was something that the school asked us to do. And it was great because it gave students the ownership over their own data. They charted their data, they tracked it, they graphed it, they reflected on it, they made goals for themselves. And it helped me and the students know exactly what they needed to work on and what they were really good in. Those are the things that I'm really happy that I did this year as far as classroom management goes. Now let's take a look at the areas that I need to grow in. And starting with number 1, consistency. Because I started strong with my house system and then it dwindled. And then the houses were not meeting as often. And then I kind of stopped awarding points to the houses. I know. But it was my first year implementing it, and it was also the first year we had a new principal, and there were so many different things that we needed to get done this year that were changes that I just felt overwhelmed. And I'm sorry to say that I wasn't as consistent with the house sorting and meeting of the houses and awarding the points, and I wasn't very consistent with my Class Dojo points also. So yeah, that fell a little bit by the wayside, and I'm a little disappointed in myself because that happened, but I'm able to reflect now and figure out a better way to implement that system next year so that I am consistent and the students have a great time participating in those houses and also with their Class Dojo points. Now, another thing that I want to change for next year as far as Class Dojo goes, I no longer want to deduct points from students because I feel, and I was reflecting on that recently, especially after watching Ryan's video from 4 Teachers, which I'll link in the description box below, and how he talked about how taking away points from students, and those points are points they already earned for something else, it actually impacts them negatively. So I am trying to figure out a way around that, but definitely I will not be taking away points next year from Class Dojo. I will be awarding points, and instead of taking away points, I will take away privileges in the classroom, or I will implement some consequences that go along with whatever it was that the student did or the rules that were broken. I also need to rethink my classroom jobs. I kind of started thinking about classroom jobs, and I did introduce classroom jobs at the first week of school, but I was not consistent with that because I couldn't find a way that I could quickly implement classroom jobs and have the students take ownership of it and easily rotate the jobs around. So I have to do a little better with that. So I have to also use the summer to kind of think about how to easily implement classroom jobs in the classroom. I also have to find a better way for grading. I need to get off the mentality that I need to grade everything. I need to figure out a way that grading will be easier for me, that I can put myself in some kind of schedule so that I don't fall behind. Because every grading period, I will tell myself, don't fall behind now. Make sure you're on track with that. And I will always fall behind and find myself doing a lot of grading towards the end. So yeah, I really want to avoid that and come up with a system that will work for me. And also a system that will also help me put away and file away their papers once they are graded. So those are different things that I need to think about as far as classroom management goes. And like I mentioned before, I also want to find a better way to manage interactive notebooks in the classroom because I do plan on using them for reading, writing, math, science, and social studies next year. I will not use 5 notebooks. I'll use 4 because science and social studies will be in one notebook. And yes, math, science, and social studies is new for me next year because the last 2 years I've only been doing ELA. But next year I get to teach all the subjects again, which I'm very, very excited. So I got to find a way to manage interactive notebooks better so that we can implement them and use them efficiently in class. All right, so here's the next category number 4, which is organization. Now, the areas that I think that I did really well in organization is that I did have a focus wall on my whiteboards that showed the students the standards and the objectives that they were going to be focusing on for that day or that week. The essential questions for the subjects, the homework was always posted on the same board. So I was very happy with how my focus walls looked. It was very organized, and also my agenda. It gave the students a feel of what they were going to learn and how the day was going to progress. I also had great bulletin board displays, and I am really proud of my bulletin boards because I do tend to use the same theme throughout all of my bulletin boards. That's just how I do it. And I'm really happy with how they were organized. I am also proud of using chair pockets again and the 3 drawer bins that each team had so that they can stay organized. So that was really great as well. And our classroom library was really nicely organized for the first time in a lot of years, thanks to Lessons with Laughter on Instagram. She provides these color labels that you can either use just the color itself or use the color with the letter. And I used it to organize my classroom library books, at least the chapter book section, by author's last name. And not only did it look nice and organized, but it provided a way for the students to know in which color section to put the books back on the shelf. And I'm also happy that at the beginning of the year, I was able to continue purging and organizing and donating things that I didn't need in my classroom, which helped. But here are the areas that I need to grow in. Number 1, I need to continue to purge and organize and find a home for every single thing that I have in my classroom so that I am not left with piles and piles and piles of paper on my desk, on the cabinets, everywhere around my room, because life as a teacher can get busy and that stack of papers can wait because there are other more important things to deal with at the moment. So I really need to find a better way to organize my things and my papers, find a home for everything, and continue to purge, organize, and donate and get rid of things so that I maintain the organizational system that I create for myself. Another thing that I really want to work on as far as organization goes is a better way to have students check out books from the classroom library and keep track of those books. I kept trying to think of a system, but I couldn't think of a really good system that would work for me and the students so that it didn't take me a long time to get books checked out and to know where they were. But I really have to come up with something this summer and research what will be the easiest way to have books checked out of our classroom library and be returned. So that was the other thing, because students will take the books out and yes, they will return them to the color, but sometimes they were not alphabetically placed correctly. So I guess that's where classroom jobs will help as well. If I can train a couple of people to do a really good job at being classroom librarian and maybe have a bin where students return the books and from that bin the librarian can properly store them in the classroom library. That would be a great idea. Also extending that color coding classroom organization for the library to my picture books, because those books were never organized. They were just placed in the bookshelves and there was no order to them. So I'm thinking about that, or thinking about maybe using the baskets that I have so that I can organize the baskets by genre. So I'm still thinking about a way to organize my picture books section of the library. So let's see what I come up with for next year, but I am already thinking. And the other thing that'll help me with organization is to make sure I get everything organized before the first day of school, because it never fails. If the first day of school comes and I have not finished organizing everything and finding a home for everything, I never get to organize throughout the entire school year. And that's just how it stays. That stack of paper will stay there for the rest of the school year, and I am never able to find time to go through it and organize it. So I gotta make sure that I use my summertime productively, but not only just work in the summer, because I'm gonna get to that in a moment when I get to well-being, but definitely find time here and there where I can come into the classroom and make sure that I organize everything and put it where I need it to go. All right, on to category number 5, which is professional development. So here are some areas that I'm very proud of myself for this year. I was able to participate in a lot of different professional development opportunities. I went to some great PDs throughout the year. There were some that were scheduled every month starting in October all the way up until March, I believe, or February. And those were very informative, and I was able to come back and share information with my grade level. And I also participated in the clinical supervision class, which helped me get all the knowledge and information I needed in order to sponsor a student teacher in my classroom and be a mentor to them. So hopefully in the future, I'm able to be a mentor to a future teacher. And I'm currently still in my PhD program for curriculum and instruction. Now, let's go to the areas for growth in this area. So definitely the first thing that I am thinking of for professional development as an area for growth is to take advantage of some of the PD opportunities that are provided by our district, such as Active Inspire, which is a website with free online modules that can help you in a wide variety of topics related to teaching. So I do want to go ahead and take a few of those modules here and there, print out the certificate, and keep it in a professional development binder, which is another area that I put down as an area for growth. I want to keep better track of the professional development opportunities that I participate in. So I definitely want to create a binder so that I can keep all the certificates or all the agendas for the different professional development opportunities that I do take part in. And I can refer to that binder throughout the year in order to go back and say, oh yeah, I went to this training, and that'll be part of my end of the year evaluation as well, where we have to provide evidence and artifacts of our participation in professional development activities. Another thing that our district provides as part of professional development is actually online classes on different technologies. And some of them is on Adobe, like Photoshop and Elements and things like that. And they're free. And we get like master plan points that we can use to renew our teaching certificate. So I definitely want to take advantage of some of those, because why not? I mean, they're there, and I'll be able to learn some things that I can use not only in my life as a teacher, but in my personal life as well. And the next thing that I want to make sure I get better at as far as professional development goes is to finally start writing my dissertation. That is one of my biggest goals for this summer. I am over a year overdue for writing my dissertation because of all these different things that have happened around my life. But I really want to get back and refocus on what I am doing with my PhD program and get my dissertation written. So yes, I'm going to get back on it. I'm going to get on track and hopefully graduate before my son graduates from high school in 2020. That's a goal, right? Good goal to have. All right, on to category number 6, which is my role as a grade level chair. So here are some of the things that I was very happy with in this particular category of my professional life. So we were able to have really great team collaboration. I always invite any teacher in my team to share ideas, lesson plans, activities with each other, no matter what subject you're teaching, because we learn best from each other, and we're here to support each other and be there for one another. We also had great sharing of ideas, whether it was through email or using our OneDrive resource folder, because we do have a collaborative folder on OneDrive that everybody shares information with. So we did a very good job with that as well. And I had really great agendas and grade level meeting minutes that we used throughout our meetings in the year. So that was really great too. All right, so here's some areas for growth as far as it comes to being a grade level chair. So number 1 is that at the beginning of the year, I would like to survey my teachers and just get a feel for areas that they would like for our grade level meetings to focus on, and maybe also see which teachers would be interested in leading part of our grade level meetings. And I do invite them to do this anyway, but maybe just have them maybe take a block or a section of the grade level meeting time to maybe talk about a strategy that worked really well with them, or a lesson plan idea, or an idea for student engagement. So I definitely want to give my grade level team teachers an opportunity to lead part of the meeting, because I don't just want to be a leader. I see myself more as a transformational leader, where I want to transform the teachers in my team into leaders themselves. So I would love to see what we can do next year as far as that. And another thing that I want to bring back to our grade level meetings is being able to rotate the room where we meet. So this whole school year we met only in my room, And in the past, we've had years where we rotated where the meeting was going to be, and that gave teachers an idea of how other teachers organize their classroom or how they go ahead and manage their classrooms. So I want to bring that back next year to our grade level meetings. Another thing that I want to bring back to our grade level meetings is snack time, but definitely include some healthy snack options. So that was always a fun thing for us to do, but we haven't done it in the past 2 years. So I want to bring that back, have a little bit of a snack time, or maybe a little bit of a little incentive, whether it's a nice pen or some Post-its with a highlighter, something that they can find as an incentive for being part of our grade level team. And of course, more collaboration, because we cannot have enough collaboration. And I just ordered a really nice shirt from Lipstick and Littles, which I'll link in the description box below. And the shirt says collaborate. And I just bought it, so it'll be here in a few weeks. And I hope it'll be here in time for my Teachers Pay Teachers conference, so I can use it in the conference as well. So definitely more collaboration, because we can't have enough of that. All right, last category, category number 7, lucky number 7 is teacher well-being. So here are some areas that I was proud of myself for doing this school year. So I make sure that I took personal days when I knew I needed personal days in order to do some self-care, because like I mentioned earlier, you can't pour from an empty cup. So when things were getting to be at a crescendo, I knew that I had to step back and say, you know what, let's take a day and relax and do some self-care that is not teaching related, so that I can get back to it and be a great teacher for my students. So yeah, I definitely was more aware of the moment where I needed to pause and do some self-care, because it is super important that we also take care of ourselves. I also learned to say no, on the most part. I'm still learning to say no without giving an explanation, but definitely no when I was about to take too much on, because I already do a lot as it is. I don't want to overwhelm myself, because then that brings the stress and the anxiety and the frustration, and nobody wants that. So definitely learning when to say no and learning when to ask for help. So that's still another area that I need to get better in, but I did ask for help when I needed it, and that is so important. So here are the areas that I want to improve upon, and I kind of hinted which areas those were, but definitely check out mentally and physically from work during the summer. I know right now I'm in my classroom and it's my summer break, but I need to make sure that for the rest of the summer, I don't just spend time thinking about school or coming to school to work in my classroom. Yes, I'm going to do that from time to time, but I do want to make sure I take time for myself in the summer to re-energize, recharge, and do some self-care and some fun things that are not related to teaching, because I am a teacher, but teaching is not my life. I got to remind myself of that. I got to be there for myself and for my family. I do have a son, and I want to spend more time with him this summer and do some fun things together. For next year, I want to make sure that I go home at contract hour. My contract hour ends at 3:25, and I have been staying late so long, and my poor son comes from across the street from the high school. He gets out at 2:20, and he has to wait for me sometimes till 4, till 5, till 6, until I get ready and go home, and it really isn't fair for him. So I want to make sure that next school year, I leave home at 3:25. So it is very important that I find a way to organize my classroom better, find a management system that works for me, so that I don't have to take work home and I don't have to stay after school too long to get things done. So I do have to make sure I make use of my time productively next year, and really make sure I stick to going home at the time I'm supposed to go home, so that I can take care of myself and take care of my family as well. I also want to make sure I do more self-care. Sometimes there are days that I just feel like so overwhelmed and stressed out for everything that I need to do, that I feel like taking time for self-care is at the bottom of my priority list, and it shouldn't be. So I want to make sure I do take time for self-care and do something for myself, even if it's 10-15 minutes every day, so that I can, like I said, take care of myself so that I can take care of others the best way that I can. And the last thing that I do want to get better at, I kind of mentioned it earlier, was to disconnect. Disconnect after work, disconnect during the summer. Again, I'm a teacher, but teaching is not my life. So I have to make sure that I do take time to disconnect, so that I also take care of my personal well-being and my family's well-being as well. So those are the 7 categories of my end of the school year reflection that I wanted to take time to sit down and talk to you all about and talk to myself about. so that I can look back at this video from time to time, or at the beginning of the school year, or maybe at the end of next school year, and see if I was able to meet all those areas for growth that I really wanted to tackle for the following school year. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was somehow informational for you as well. And maybe you stopped to reflect on your last school year of teaching. If you did, leave a comment down below and let me know what your reflections are and what you hope to improve upon next year, and what from this year was so great that you want to share with others as well. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications so you don't miss any future videos. I hope you have a beautiful, magical day, and don't forget to smile. See you next time.